Good evening. Welcome to week 10 of the Comm 1 public speaking course at Fresno City College with myself, Erica Carlson. And tonight we're going to be going over your speech critique paper assignment. And we're also going to go through the grading rubric that you're going to be using to conduct your speech critique. And then you'll also use that grading rubric to write your essay. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you. And I'm going to pull up the speech critique grading rubric. Now, this is what you are going to be using when you are grading the speech that's provided on Canvas. The speech is on YouTube and it's about the importance of taking naps. It's a persuasive speech. So basically what you're gonna do is you're either gonna print or download this form out of the files in Canvas, and it's also available through a link on your assignment guidelines or your assignment description. Excuse me. So basically, you are going to print this out, save it to your computer, and fill it out as you watch the speech. So you can kind of start at the top of the paper, and we're going to discuss attention getters and the importance of them. You're going to watch a video about that. So if you haven't watched that already, please do. And you're kind of going to go through this and grade the student as they're speaking. Please keep in mind, this is pretty much the exact same rubric that I'm using to grade your speeches. So you can kind of look at the feedback that I give you. I'll give it back to you this week sometime. You can look at the feedback that I give you and kind of implement that into how you want to conduct your speech critique and write your essay. So one main part of this assignment and one main thing I want to talk about is that you're not going to be doing a speech on your speech critique. This assignment is strictly an essay. Exactly like the audience analysis paper, you only need one source, which is the course textbook, and then you need to write 3 to 4 pages of double-spaced work, and then you need to have APA formatting with at least one in-text citation. And I'm going to be using the exact same grading rubric, except this time around, the grading rubric is going to be worth 100 points, and I'm not requiring a first draft. So please keep that in mind. You have 2 weeks to complete this assignment, but you're going to want to kind of write a draft on your own just to make sure you're staying on top of it and not completing it last minute. So let's go through this form together, and I think it's going to kind of help you as you're doing the assignment. So if you don't understand anything, hopefully this video will provide you some guidance. So the first mark, which is worth 5 points each, is about the introduction. So did it have all the components that are required? And you can kind of go ahead and use the requirements that we have in this course to conduct this speech critique. So did the student provide good supporting material? Did they have good sources? Did they use sources? Did they verbally cite all of the sources that they used? You're also going to want to look for organization with signposts and transitions, as well as a solid conclusion. So that's kind of the substance and organization category. One more thing you're going to want to look at is if the topic was significant, meaningful, and interesting to you as an audience member. So not only are you going to want to look at that category, but there's also the delivery category. So was there a good verbal delivery? Did they have a good volume, rate, and vocal variety? Or were they speaking too quietly, too quickly, too slowly? Did they pause and use a lot of ums? Verbal fillers are basically ums or little tics that people may have when they are public speaking. So you're going to want to grade them and make sure that they're not using a lot of ums and It's better to use a pause. So did they use language strategically to enhance your understanding and interest as an audience member? You're also going to want to look for non-delivery or nonverbal delivery. So nonverbal delivery is everything that's not verbal. Gestures, movement, posture, eye contact, all of those things are related to nonverbal delivery. So you're going to want to make sure that the speech was presented extemporaneously. So it's important that the student wasn't reading an outline. If you are reading an outline, you are not presenting extemporaneously. Extemporaneous presentation is basically when you speak while using an outline and you're kind of speaking conversation style to an audience instead of reading an outline. Was the student confident and committed to the topic? So those are all the delivery sections. And then there's also some other considerations. So you're going to want to look at the ethical standards. the visual aid, if there was one available. You're going to want to make sure they spoke an appropriate amount of time, that their tone was appropriate, was the speech persuasive. Your next speech is going to be persuasive. So this assignment is kind of a segue into that. And you're also going to want to look at if they appeared to have practiced before they performed the presentation. So once you've finished this rubric or this evaluation form, and you've written all of your comments and you've graded it, then it's going to come time for the essay. So one way that I encourage you to write this essay is to talk about each category. There's 3 categories. So you may want to talk about each category for about 1 page. So you don't have to talk about every single thing on this rubric. And I definitely encourage you to not talk about every single thing. You're going to want to kind of highlight some main points that you pick out of the essay. When you're doing a critique, of course, you're going to want to catch things that you see that are negative and things that can help the speaker improve. But you're also going to want to talk about positive aspects of the presentation. So you're going to pick out a few of these little sections here or subsections, and you're going to write a 3 to 4 page double-spaced essay and discuss the presentation. So you're going to want to talk about some positive aspects and some negative aspects, just like your discussion board this week, except this is going to be an expanded assignment and you're going to be critiquing a different student off of YouTube. So if any of you have questions, feel free to reach out. We're going to further talk about speech critique next week, and your paper is going to be due next week on the 15th before 11:59 p.m. Please make sure to complete the discussion board this week. That's going to account for your attendance. So do make sure to complete that. Well, thank you for tuning in, everyone. Have a great night, and I will touch base with you next week.